can only originate from the right, from a Hitler, a Mussolini. This author challenges that and tries to point out episodes in American history where we have used fascism. Okay, and you can either, when you read that, agree or disagree with that hypothesis. Okay, but I tend to think it does work. It does fit here. So you have government control over industry, production, prices, wages, but you maintain private ownership. Okay, so I think this is an episode of temporary fascism, which will be squashed, right, by the Supreme Court. This whole thing, the whole thing is struck down, including the minimum wage, guys. Okay, so originally the minimum wage was created with this, and it was struck down as unconstitutional. I'll get into later about how we have the minimum wage today, but so yeah, take a look at that. This was Roosevelt's baby, though. This is what he thought was going to get us out of the Depression. This type of thing did help Germany get out of the Depression before we did. Germany was out of the Depression by 1936 using fascism. And I just want to remind you guys, fascism is not a dirty word in the 1920s. It's not a dirty word in the early to mid 30s. When Hitler hosted the Berlin Olympics in 36, he brought people into a country that was now beginning to thrive because of his remilitarization. There's no homeless, there's no jobless. Everybody's got something to do. Okay. Now, yeah, he doesn't like Jews. Okay. Well, if you're a person, you're like, well, I don't really like Jews either, so it doesn't really bother me. There's a lot of people like that. There's a lot of people in this country right now like that. I don't like Jews. Okay? I'm not saying that me personally. Okay? Seriously, I'm not. I got no issue with Jews. Okay? In fact, as a Protestant, I'm kind of like, well, I've read the Bible, and it's about how the Jews are God's chosen people, so I think I'm going to stay with those people. I'm going to stand with those people. Are they always right? No. We see lots of examples of that in the Bible. Okay, they're not always right. Okay, neither are we. So, sorry, I'll get back on track here. But I hope you read that either this weekend or Monday and kind of look at that. There's other periods in American history that he talks about that are interesting, may not fit, but are interesting. Okay, so today, guys, we're going to talk about the PWA and the WPA. Not to confuse you. Now, PWA is something that Hoover did. Public works. So when we say public, what are we talking about? Government. Public schools, public parks, public swimming pools, yes. Government. Okay. Works, jobs, government jobs. Here we go. Right there. Okay. The Public Works Administration. Now, Hoover spent about $2 billion doing this. And let me remind you guys, this is not government contracts like we do today. Like we need a new water treatment facility in Wichita. The government gives a contract to a construction company to do that. No, this is government provided and government run jobs, run by the government, not contracted out to private business. Now, heading this up will be the Secretary of Interior, Ickes, okay, Harold Ickes. And this makes sense. This is the interior of the country. And guys, this is construction based. We're going to build stuff. Sewer systems, schools, post office, hospitals, tunnels, housing projects, and even a couple of aircraft carriers. Yorktown and the Enterprise, which would play a pretty big role in the Second World War. I guess I listen to the news a lot. We have 11 aircraft carriers. We have 12. One's always being refitted, updated, and 11 in service. Right now, the USS Abraham Lincoln, which is powered by a nuclear reactor aircraft carrier, is in the Mediterranean. However, all the planes on that carrier need jet fuel. Yes? So along with the aircraft carrier, you have supply ships, you have destroyers, cruisers, other types of ships. Well, it was brought to my attention through listening to the news, guys, that one of our transports that carries the jet fuel, this is a large fuel tank, ran aground in the Mediterranean. And we only have 10 of these. So we have 11 carriers, but 10 refueling ships in the whole Navy. And one of them is disabled right now. So military experts believe that if there was a major conflict today, we would need no less than 30 of these refueling tankers. And we have 10. The United States shipbuilding capability has been decimated over the last few decades. We are reliant on South Korea to build us ships, these type of ships. Now, if you're not familiar with the geography, South Korea is about 100 miles from China. So if that major conflict was with China, we would be relying on shipbuilding by South Korea to build these ships we need. Who's in freaking charge, man? What is going on? This bothers me, okay? It should bother you too. Sorry. It's in the news. It's important. I'm going to talk about it, okay? And it's relevant to this. So that's pretty short and simple right there. PWA is pretty easy. Public Works, $3 billion. Harold Ickes, what kind of stuff did we build? All kinds of stuff. Okay. Then there's the Federal Emergency Relief Act. And this, again, is what Hoover would never do, which was give you something for nothing. Okay. Now, this term is born out of this called the dole. And it's referred to, if you get direct assistance from the government, you're on the dole. Okay, today we don't use that term as often. Some people still use it. What's the term we use today? You're on what? Welfare. Okay. Now, see, there's a differing worldview here. So you go from Hoover's worldview, where you shouldn't get something for nothing. You need to earn it. Okay? Now, we'll help you out with loans, but you're going to have to pay it back. To a worldview that says that every citizen is entitled to help from the government, or as it says down here, based on the belief that relief from unemployment is a right. Now, I've read the Bill of Rights, and I haven't found that in there. See, guys, your rights are rights. Like, they can't be taken away. A law that says, as a society, people fall on hard times, we're going to set up some programs to help them. That's a law, not a right. And this word right here, entitled or entitlement, is a loaded word. It drives me freaking crazy when I hear people say they were entitled to this. They deserved this. No. You earned this. You weren't entitled to it. You earned something. Okay? You guys know Father Jared Lees, St. Francis. Okay, he used to be our pastor here. And of all the homilies that he gave in his years here, he gave one about the topic of entitlement. And who he was addressing in that homily was the Bishop Carroll students. Okay? Are you guys entitled little brats? Now, if you are, you can fix that. Okay? If you're not, good for you. But listen, what his message was about that stuck with me, because both of my kids were at Bishop Carroll when he gave this homily, okay, was this. Do you take for granted all the things that your parents do for you? And do you ever really think about all the things that they do for you? Like that roof over your head, that comforter on your bed, the clothes that you wear, the shoes that you wear, the food that you eat, the cash they may help you out with. Now, some of you are certainly less entitled than others because some of you have to work to pay for a lot of the things that you have because you're now 17 and 18. Now, I was a spoiled brat. Now, one of my things my dad did, now he knew I was, and he was okay with it. He said, listen, the longer you can play baseball, the longer it is before you can work. So if I were you, I'd keep playing baseball. So I played 4 years of college baseball, and I didn't have to work because I didn't have time. Because once you start working, you don't stop until hopefully you get to retire. Why would you start now? You don't have to. That was my dad's message. Now, he owned his own business, so he was like, he didn't like working for other people. My dad was different, but anyhow, if you feel you are entitled to all the things that your parents do for you, let's just switch that language and just say, I'm grateful for all the things my parents do for me, and tell them, thank you. I appreciate all the things that you do for me. Okay? Now, none of us have a perfect family. Okay? And I'm not a perfect dad. I'm far from perfect. Okay? But I did a lot for my kids. I'm still doing a lot. Okay? Now, I don't know. My daughter realizes that my paycheck goes into an account, and then my wife pays her rent at college from that account that comes from my paycheck. I don't know if she knows that, but I haven't gotten a thank you in a while. She's 20. She feels entitled. Okay? So, make your parents feel good. Huh? Do that. Okay? Don't take for granted the things that you got. All right, sorry. Again, off topic there. All right, so Harry Hopkins is going to head up the Federal Emergency Relief Act. Can I talk about a movie real quick? So I've mentioned Cinderella Man a couple of times. Okay? In this movie, this boxer, this heavyweight champion, things get so bad. He breaks his hand. He can't work. And this program starts. And he goes to the government and gets money so he could turn the electricity back on and get his kids back from the aunt that's taking care of the kids because they can't take care of their kids. To see somebody humbled like that has nowhere else to turn, government is there for them here. Now, the interesting part of the movie is when he gets back on his feet and he starts boxing again, he wins. Takes that money that he earned and he goes back to the government office and pays the government back for that money they gave him. Thinking this is a loan. I was not entitled to this, and I'm going to pay it back. Now, did everybody do that? Do people pay back their welfare today? Of course not. Okay. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if there were a few people out there that did. Okay. But a lot of people today, when it comes to welfare, feel they're entitled to it. They deserved it. Okay. All right. That's PWA, Federal Emergency Relief Act. Now we go to the PWA. Excuse me. The WPA. The Works Progress Administration. I think I'm going to have to start changing the background on my slides because you can't see them on this. All right. Now look at this one, guys. So WPA spent $3 billion. This is going to spend $11 billion. It's going to employ 8.5 million people over about an 8-year span. This is big. Now, Harry Hopkins is going to head this one up as well. Now, this is public works, guys, with a different flavor to it. It's got kind of an entertainment flavor to it. Do we have anybody in here that sings in the choir? Okay. Anybody that's in does theater? Okay. You guys, we don't want you to get your hands dirty. Okay? So we're going to put you to work. You guys are going to write a play. You're going to sing it for us. Okay? And you know who's going to pay you? Uncle Sam's going to pay you. The government's going to pay you to do this. Okay? And when we come watch your show, your production that you produce, you know how much we're going to pay to come watch you? Nothing. The government's paying you. And the government's going to build the theater that you're performing in as well. You follow me on this? Okay? So, this helps able-bodied and unemployed. There is some construction with this, but we're building a theater. We're building a baseball stadium. We're building an arena. And then we're going to pay people to perform in those arenas. Writers, actors, musicians, artists will prepare guidebooks, decorate buildings, write plays, perform concerts for the public. Paid for by the public through the government. I just mentioned fascism a little while ago. This is not fascism. This feels a little bit more like what? Maybe not full-blown communism, but what? Socialism. Okay? Listen, we're in a crisis. We're trying to get out of this. We got a lot of people unemployed. Okay? We're going to use some socialism here. The state of Kansas, guys, where we live, benefited from this greatly. These programs, the people that lived in the state of Kansas. You think Roosevelt's going to get reelected? You think these people, these 8.5 million people that got jobs through the Works Progress Administration are going to vote for Roosevelt? You better bet your sweet you know what they will. Okay? He's helping people. Is this going to get us out of the Depression? No. Okay? But it is helping people. Helping people. And guys, the general public gets to benefit from some of this stuff that we built. Dams, lighthouses, aircraft carriers. Now, my grandpa, Charles Harold Ebright, was a welder. And he went out to California and he helped build dams and lighthouses. Those dams and lighthouses are still standing today from the 1930s. Okay? So I think that's kind of neat. But this is socialism. Okay? The National Youth Administration, or the NYA, is going to do similar type of efforts for our youth, high school and college. So like this guy here in this picture, man on the left is able to attend Boise Junior College by teaching a class in the art of self-defense at the local YMCA, 1936. Okay. So you do this service and we'll pay for your college. Okay. The NYA also helped train nurses and get them employed and so forth. A little bit of a socialist utopia going on, right? Okay. But again, this is all done through the government, so no wealth is being created. This is not private industry doing this. This is all through the government. Okay. So it's not going to really lift all boats. Okay. Now, let's change subject a little bit. Once upon a time, in downtown Wichita, there was a baseball stadium, not called Riverfront Stadium, which is what's there right now. But what was it called? Lawrence Dumont Stadium. How many of you guys remember Lawrence Dumont Stadium? That's it? Okay, because one day I'll ask this question and nobody will remember. Okay? I'll remember it because I have a lot of fond memories. Okay? Lawrence Dumont Stadium was built by the Works Progress Administration in the 1930s. This is it right here. This is where Riverfront Stadium sits today, where this was. Now, it doesn't look like the sprinkler system was working too well that year. Okay, maybe it was a drought. Okay, maybe it was the Dust Bowl. Okay, Lawrence Dumont Stadium stood from about 1936 till about 5 years ago when they tore it down. Okay, now the Dumont part of the Lawrence Dumont Stadium is named after a guy named Hap, H-A-P, Hap Dumont. When they built this stadium, they needed games to be played here. And so Hap Dumont put together a baseball tournament in the summertime. Players from all over the country to come play in this tournament. You just had to have a team, and you drive to Wichita and play in this tournament in the summer. It lasted 2 weeks. What's the name of that tournament? Because 90 years later, guys, it's still going on. Does this ring a bell with anybody? When you were kids, did any of your dads take you down to the Lawrence Dumont Stadium and watch baseball in the summertime? Do you have fond memories of that? Okay. You might have seen me playing or coaching in it. Probably too young to have seen me played in it because I played in it a couple of times. I played baseball till I was 34. I had a men's league, men's baseball. Okay. And I was good. And my team won the championship, so we got to play in the NBC twice. I was a 3-hole hitter. Caught, played outfield. Yeah, it's fun. And then I coached it. Multiple times, I coached my son in it, which was a fond memory. Okay? 90 years this tournament's been going on in Kansas, Wichita. I don't know if you guys seen this as you come in and out of the classroom. They handed these out at the NBC World Series this year, opening day. And this is a bobblehead of Satchel Paige. You guys ever heard this name before? Okay. Satchel Paige was a Negro League pitcher. Maybe one of the best pitchers that ever lived. Tall, skinny. His arms, like his biceps were about as wide as my wrists. Skinny. Okay. Now, have you guys, you ever heard of Ken Burns? Ken Burns, he's a documentary filmmaker. Oh, this is making me sad. Okay. Ken Burns, yeah, I'm sure you've seen some of his work. Mr. Jacks likely showed you some Ken Burns Civil War footage. He's got a series. It's like 10 hours long of the Civil War. He also did an entire history in a documentary film on the history of jazz. He also did an entire 8-hour documentary on the history of World War II and another on the history of Vietnam. But I think, besides his Civil War documentary, his entire history of baseball is his best work. And he takes you through the decades, dating back to the 19th century, all the way through the 90s, the history of baseball. In the series on the 30s, during the Depression, and then the war, really good stuff. Some of you guys have seen the movie The League of Their Own, the women's baseball movie. Okay? Those are fantastic stories, guys. You don't know the story of Ted Williams. Ted Williams was the last baseball player to hit 400 batting average for a season. He hit 406. This is after he spent 2 years flying a plane in World War II, because he left Major League Baseball, went and flew, then hit 400, and then the Korean War broke out, and he went back in and flew jets in the Korean War, and then came back and played baseball again. Ted Williams, number 9, Boston Red Sox. That's why I wear number 9. My dad got back from Korea, and he came through Boston. It was the last game of the Major League season. It was Ted Williams' last game ever. Maybe the greatest hitter in the history of baseball. And in his last at bat, Ted Williams hit a home run. And my dad was in Fenway Park and saw it happen. That's freaking awesome. Now, a lot of you guys are like, well, I have no idea what you're talking about. It's okay. Now, Satchel Paige, in this Ken Burns thing, they're interviewing this old black guy, because Satchel Paige died by the time they made this documentary, but he's interviewing this guy that came from Alabama with Satchel Paige to Wichita for the tournament. And that's how he described it. We were driving to Wichita for the tournament, okay? And he's got this southern drawl, this old black guy, and he's just talking about how much fun they had coming to Wichita for the tournament, and how Satchel Paige drove so fast he got pulled over by the police, Wichita, and they were scared, but they found out it was okay. Okay, but it's just fantastic history that we have in our own community here. Okay, 90 years of history. Now, I'm a little bitter because Lawrence Dumont Stadium is in downtown Wichita. When we built the $80 million Riverfront Stadium, city of Wichita, we need affiliated baseball. We need our team to be affiliated with one of the major league teams. The Wind Surge are an affiliate of what major league team? Does anybody know? The Minnesota Twins. So if you got a kid that's just out of college or out of high school, he works his way up to the Minnesota Twins. One of those stops will be Wichita. Okay. The Wind Surge had a player this summer, that graduated from Bishop Carroll in 2015. His name's Scott England. Okay. Played for me here. Got drafted by the Texas Rangers, got released. The Twins picked him up, and he pitched with the Wind Surge this year. And be proud. How many guys? Any of you guys know Scott? Love this kid. He was the kid that all the teachers hated his freshman and sophomore year. But by the time he left this place, the teachers loved it. It's a great, great guy. Okay. Now, he got released in the last month of the season by the Twins. And so he finished the season in Pennsylvania playing for some independent team. Okay. He's 27. He was the oldest member of the Wichita Wind Surge. Okay. Just hanging on. Just fighting for the dream to play Major League Baseball. Okay. God bless him. So, when they built this stadium, we needed a team. Originally, it was going to be the Miami Marlins. It was going to be a triple-A team for the Marlins. We ended up with a double-A team with the Twins. Our city leaders, ignorant of Wichita history, did not make it part of the contract that the Minnesota Twins allow the National Baseball Congress World Series to be played at Riverfront Stadium in downtown Wichita on this very spot where it had been for 88 years. So the last 3 years, the NBC tournament has been played at Wichita State and a little bit up at Hobart Debtor Stadium in Hutch, which is a nice little stadium, but it's not downtown Wichita. And I am very bitter about it. How do you just throw 88 years of history out the window? So, I hope you're watching this. Now, did you know, this other picture over here, this is the Arkansas River in downtown Wichita, and that is an island. And on that island is a baseball stadium, and over here, this is a roller coaster. They had an amusement park and a baseball stadium on an island in downtown Wichita in the middle of the Arkansas River. You guys knew that. Okay. So we're getting a little local history in here. All right? Some baseball history and some local history. Okay. I'm not sure if this was affiliated with Joyland, and like when they got rid of this island, but you guys know about Joyland? How many have never heard of Joyland? Okay. Well, yeah, I got to tell you. Okay. Now, by the time I moved to Kansas in '95, I think they had shut it down. You guys know where the drive-in is? You ever been to the drive-in? Jude, you never been to the drive-in? Where do you live? So what? You come to Wichita to go to the drive-in. Barry, you been to the drive-in? Where do you live? You're closer than any of us to the drive-in. It's a drive-in movie theater. Did you know Wichita has one? Yeah. How many had fun when they went to the drive-in? Yeah. Okay. It's over by, if you take 235 or 135 south, 135 goes down the middle of the canal route. That's 135. Keep going down towards Hayesville. Okay. The 060. Yeah. What's your zip code?
660.
What is it?
670.
Yeah, the 060. I have friends from Hayesville. We make fun of Hayesville. We call it the 060. Okay.
I like it. It's a cool place.
I'm all over you now. So, yeah, it's a drive-in movie theater. It's called Starlight. It's outstanding. There's only a few in the country still running. Like, you need to go before it closes. You got a girlfriend, Jude? Well, if you ever want to take somebody on a date, and now they'll be out kind of late because they don't start the movie till it's dark. So in the summertime, movies start like at what, 9:30, 10? Yeah. Yeah. And it's a double feature. triple feature? 2 movies? 2 movies. So 2 for 1. And you pull your car up, and you can tune in to the movie in your car radio. Like you'll go to a station, or the little speakers you can put on your window. Now, what most people do, I think, is smart. Like if you have a pickup truck, you back it in, you put some lawn chairs in the back of the pickup, or you got, like an SUV, you put the back window or swinging door up, and then you sit in there in the comfort of your car, and you can hear it real good because of the speakers of the car. Gosh, it's so much fun. Yeah.
Who road is it on?
I mean, it's like 135 and MacArthur, I think.
I drove by that multiple times.
Yeah.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
Right. There was one time when we went to the drive-in, we would just fill our bed of our truck with just like pillows and blankets and
Yep.
everything else in there. But the people next to us, they put a tarp in the back of their truck and made a pool there.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they just sat there the entire time during the
People were
movie.
sitting on the very top of their truck.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and so they have like these hills, so you park on the hill, like just a small, like, park on that, and it kind of lifts you up above people in front of you and stuff. Yeah.
And it has like a giant.
Yeah,
But like, I always drove by.
there's 2 screens. There's 2 screens, okay? Yeah. All right, sorry, I got, but guys, really, very few places have drive-ins anymore, okay? So listen, this is how far I got with the other class, so I think that's probably a good stopping point. But we got some good local history in today. One more quick story about the Works Progress Administration. So about 10 years ago, I took our baseball team up to play Junction City. Okay. Now, we're driving up there, and I think I had GPS on my phone, but it's like right in the middle of the neighborhood, this little baseball park. And turn the corner, we're in a neighborhood, and there's this beautiful, like, the stone on the side of our school with that white stone, that kind of limestone stuff. The whole back, this whole thing is limestone. It's a small stadium that was built by the Works Progress Administration in Junction City. Back in the 30s, it's still much smaller than Lawrence Dumont. And they kind of updated it, but it still had wood bleachers. And it was just the most gorgeous little baseball park in the middle of Junction City. Now, we played 2 teams there, and we lost to Junction City, 1-0. And this little freshman left-hander for Junction City beat us, and I was so mad. It was one of the best butt rippings my players have ever got. Because we got back on that bus, and they were laughing. And I wasn't laughing. You guys ever have Coach Holman for a sub? Ask him about Coach Ebright when we went to Junction City. All right, don't make me mad. All right.